So the program tonight is going to look at the power of forgiveness. But before we go into that, I just wanted to do a quick review of what we've been covering so far. So chapter 1, we looked at the strengthening our connections. So it was kind of thinking about where we've come from, what were the good things in our life, what we've been able to accomplish, and how we can build stronger relationships. Then we discussed communication, the art of communication. So there's certain principles and techniques that we can use in communicating. Then we went into resolving conflict last week, which is also a very important part of communication. So once you have the fundamentals, you need to know how to handle those difficult conversations, the things that you disagree upon. And I actually got to practice this a little bit in my work last week, because there was a bit of a conflict that came up in one of the meetings that I was participating in. And so I had the opportunity to jump in and focus on the issue causing the conflict instead of attacking the other person. So that is can often be a key to actually resolving these conflicts, is when you put the issue out in front of you, and instead of thinking about, it's your fault and it's your fault and it's your fault. Okay, let's just stop. Let's focus on the problem. We've got to resolve this problem. And instead of blaming it, what can we do? What can we bring to this in order to resolve it? So I used that technique in the meeting, and we were able to resolve this issue fairly quickly. So I have found that many things that I actually learned through the marriage course have become very applicable in helping to manage a team. Now, this session that we're going to look at today addresses the ways that we can resolve things when we do inevitably hurt each other. Because despite all of the things that we learn in those first 3 sessions, there will always come up times where, through our own ignorance or our mistakes, we can hurt somebody. And sometimes we're not even aware that we've done that. So there's 2 sides to this. One is about learning to process our own healing and dealing with that hurt. And then the other is about forgiving somebody else, and also apologizing and forgiving. And those 2 things kind of go hand in hand, right? We need to be able to say, I'm sorry, but we also need to be able to receive somebody's apology and actually let go of the pain, let go of the hurt. So if Daniela was here, she would now say, what is the meaning of forgiveness? So I'm going to do this on her behalf. So forgiving somebody is a gift that we give to ourselves. So we think that forgiving is actually giving something to somebody. I forgive you, so you're off the hook, kind of thing. But actually, forgiving means letting go of the pain and the hurt inside of ourselves. So in the Aramaic, the meaning of forgiveness is, if you translated it literally, it's to remove the noose from around your own neck. So you think of that. If you're holding on to resentment, it's like you've got this noose around your neck. Forgiving is taking that off so that you're no longer hanging on to that. So from the deepest part of your heart, you have to be able to do that. If we put it another way, in the Beatitudes, when Jesus talks about having mercy on somebody, which in essentially is similar to forgiveness, it talks about letting go of the anger and love that person as if they were born from your own womb. So it means to give them rebirth in a way through forgiving them. And this is really what Jesus taught as well. So for forgiving is not about winning or losing in an argument. It's about finding mutual understanding and being able to rejoin yourselves, come back together again. And it creates a new path that you can walk along together, side by side, instead of going in opposite directions. So from my perspective, my own personal opinion, saying I'm sorry, sometimes it can come pretty easily, and you say the words, but you don't really mean it, right? And forgiving somebody can be the same. You can say, I forgive you, but if you don't really go inside and deal with the pain or the anger or the hurt that you feel inside and let go of that, then you can also carry that on for many years. And I found in our relationship, I realized maybe 8-10 years ago that I had been harboring a grudge against my wife. And that had created a barrier between us. So it was like I felt I'd created a story in my own mind that I couldn't trust her. And because of that, I was withholding a large part of my heart from her. So even though we would share and we would be together, it was like there was a part of me that was, behind a wall. And so that became a barrier in our relationship, and we couldn't get beyond that. And so there was this constant wall that we were coming up against. So then after realizing that, I actually apologized to her for doing that in front of about 200 people. And it was, I read her a letter and I apologized and said how I regretted the fact that I'd been withholding my love from her for all this time. And it was like this huge weight was lifted off my shoulders. And our relationship went to a completely new level. It just completely transformed from that point on. And sometimes we're not even aware that those things exist in our lives. Sometimes we may not know even what's going on inside the heart of our spouse and what they're thinking about and what's going on there. So this could be, it can be a very difficult conversation for some people. For others, you may feel like you've forgiven everything, you've apologized, you've forgiven. But I think for everybody, you can learn something from this. So I'm going to start the video now, and I'll be back at the end of the program. Good evening again. And I hope that was a worthwhile session for you, and you were able to really dig into some areas that might have been hiding in the background and bring them out and resolve some of those issues. In some cases, it might require a little bit more work. So there is a continuing the education session that you can continue to go through. And I was just reflecting on this about learning how to say I'm sorry is still a skill that doesn't really come easily to us sometimes, right? We need to practice that. So in my family, when we were, getting around the table and when there were some arguments amongst our kids, the motto we had was the way to win an argument is to be the first one to say, I'm sorry. Because when you do that, you win because you're first. And secondly, you resolve the pain in the other person's heart and you resolve the pain in your heart. And that is a win-win situation for both of you, right? So our kids have grown up with that. And they've become very good at saying sorry, I have to admit. So I'm very glad that they could do that. But sometimes I'm sorry is not enough, as they were saying. You need further demonstrations of your sincerity, and we may need to, pay an additional price, like buying flowers or a gift or doing something nice to make up for the pain or the hurt that we've caused. And you can also try asking your spouse, what is it that we can do to earn your trust and love again? And I'm very grateful that my wife was able to join from Terminal 4 at JFK. And would you like to say a few things to close out, my love? You need to unmute.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm going to be boarding in 10 minutes, but I forgive my husband for not taking me to the airport. Understandably so.
I delegated my son to drive. Okay, he's a designated driver.
I think that for me, saying sorry is never enough. And as Roger knows, even when he says sorry, I always ask him, what are you sorry for? Because sometimes it becomes an automatic response. Oh, I'm sorry. But unless we understand what we're sorry for, it doesn't really have that much value. So, before we say sorry, we really need to understand what it is that we cause the other person to suffer because of our actions. And then the sorry becomes meaningful. It's like, for Catholics to go to confession, and then the following week, they do the same thing over again. Now, unless we understand what we have done, sorry is not enough. At least this is in my understanding. And Roger knows that this is the way we operate. We say sorry to each other. We say sorry to each other, understanding the reason why. Right?
That's right.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed this session. For me, it was very, very, very good.
Thank you all. We'll see you all again next week. Bye.